I think this is a really interesting topic, and this is the first video we're going to take a look at on the WoW Community Council forum. So, this person posts about a discussion for having the external cooldowns and buffs that we have seen return in Shadowlands. If you're playing Shadowlands for the first time and you've not really played other expansions recently, this is a big departure from how the game has been pretty much since, I would say, probably Legion. It's been pretty much nothing like this in the game, including buffs like warrior buff and mage buff and those types of static buffs. Those were also returned recently as well. So I think that this is a really good thing for the game, but you're going to see an interesting perspective here, and I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts. So I'll quickly read what this person says, but what we're going to read is the blue post. I want to have a discussion about external cooldowns, buffs cast on other players, talking about all these things. Past abilities include, so he's basically saying that like, this stuff has existed, but these two stand out the most in memory from raiding and Kata and Mop. So yeah, there's always been stuff like this. It's been there forever. I mean, in Mop, there was a lot of different things. So, and there was things like that in challenge modes too. Like you had a lot of different variables for content that was supposed to be scaled to a certain level of play. And it seemed to work fine. I mean, obviously, it wasn't very difficult when you could min-max things that easily, but I thought it worked fine, and I never had any issues with that kind of thing. So I always thought they were removing them because of the kind of like pruning that was going on, like from Mop and onward. They started really cutting out a lot of core spells, and I think they probably also were thinking about that whole, bring the player, not the class nonsense, which never really worked out and doesn't obviously apply anymore. But and that was just to take certain classes and spells away from players that were kind of being brought just because of that. So anyway, so this guy says, I think they're interesting, but they can also be problematic. If someone's counterpart in raid is the one getting all the druid beams and PIs and they're getting zilch, it's not fun. Makes it hard for others in the raid to keep up. Or on the flip side, the person who gets all the buffs and is able to parse just gets hassled. Competition makes farm and reclear interesting for a lot of folks, but external CDs and buffs that target one player on week 20 of reclear like this can increase salt intake. What could be something that helps this, but also keeps things interesting? So let's see what now this is Sigma. Okay, so this guy's here now as well. I know this guy pretty well. Well, yeah, you can call him a guy, or I don't think he cares. But regardless, he's an interesting character. But he is like a fucking genius. Like I don't know how else to put it. I had a conversation with this guy in person a few years back, and I had all these suggestions, and he had already thought of them, and it sounded like not only had he already thought of them, but like they were so below what he was currently thinking of that he just immediately gave reasons why they wouldn't work, and then we moved on. It was like, wow, this guy just kind of owned me. So I've always had I felt like strong opinions about the game, but it's good to see that there's somebody who's not only very has a very good head for the game, but also is very skilled at like math and the inner workings of the game. So that's this guy. Anyway, let's see what he has to say, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts on what he has to say too. This is a good topic and a difficult one because it goes to a lot of questions about varying player tastes. That's kind of all. That's all you really need to say. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one. We'll see you guys in the next one. No definitive answer, and we want player to keep talking about it, but here's a few thoughts. One goal you have might be maximizing your chances at killing the boss. It's a pretty good goal, right? Another goal you have might be maximizing your positions on a ranking website. Those goals sometimes lead you towards different behavior. It's not really up to us to tell people which one to pursue. That's the 2020, 21, or 22 Blizzard speaking, by the way. But we do design towards keeping the first one interesting and rewarding. That's smart. That's a pretty good idea. Anyway, choices where players are explicitly thinking about maximizing the group's output, things like external buffs or group level cooldown coordination, contribute to that. These can sometimes make the second goal less clear. For example, because buffs make it hard to account for everybody's damage contribution. And so far, we are okay with that. I'd fucking hope so, because honestly, like, the way I look at this is the only goal should be killing the boss. If you're in there to be like a single player out of a 20-player raid and all you care about is maximizing your own damage at the cost of everyone else, you're raiding for the wrong reasons, man. I mean, this happens in Mythic Plus, this happens everywhere. And it's like, what are you doing? Why are you wasting everybody? Like, I just don't really get it. And I think it's not healthy, but I don't know. I haven't really participated in it, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are groups of 20 people who are happy to have 19 players all help one player and have him be the best player in the raid. But anyway, another way of looking at this is that killing the boss goal is made by us. Now, this is a very important paragraph. The ranking goal is made by and managed by players. Yes, very important. I mean, how many times have we talked about this now on the channel? Players can, 2022 Blizzard, and should do what they want with it. Now, if this was the old Blizzard, and this old guy as well, like I'm sure he had said some very dumb things over the years, just because he probably doesn't care to proofread or whatever. But I read this as somebody put this in here for them, because it's like literally, yeah. I mean, sure, you can do what you want with it, but you're really kind of just fighting the goal of the game. So it's like, that's kind of on you at that point. The real answer to this is we don't care. These spells have reasons for them to be in the game, and we're happy with those reasons and how they're working. And if you're too petty to, like, the person in your group is doing more damage than you because somebody is giving them a buff, and you're going to get petty about that, and you're going to not have fun or be mad at some people involved, then this is probably not a healthy situation for you to be in. But anyway, adaptations like asterixing logs, which include power infusion, are already occurring. The rankings are an expression of what players choose to value, to use as a mark of individual achievement. We all know that someone's value to a group is not solely determined by their DPS meter. Yeah, do we? I think some people don't, even though it is a useful tool. Guild recruiters evaluating players know that various kinds of contributions aren't reflected there. Contributions like power infusion aren't obvious on them either. But similarly, this is an analysis problem left to players. Well said. One of the most difficult aspects of this topic is social tension. Sometimes people argue with their teammates about buffs. Really? Oh, yeah. It's very understandable to me why one possible response someone might have for that is, this can put you at odds with your own group mates, so stamp it out. The flip side of that is, this is part and parcel of playing with real people in a large competitive group, cooperative group. And preserving the human element of group play in WoW, not boiling it down to predictable mechanical interactions, is an important value. So well said. I have to say, maybe the most important thing that has been said in this whole post. See, for example, the common lament that Group Finder content has lost a lot of the human interaction from the experience. Oh, really well said. Mechanics that involve interacting with group mates bring out both the good and the bad of that, and that might be better than having neither. Trying to be as transparent as possible, so far we have not constrained our design to require meter, ranking, clarity, and fairness, where doing so would compromise other values. On a gut level, a simple, compelling, and familiar RPG concept is, a thing your class can do is give one person a buff. It's a minority of abilities in WoW, but it would feel like a huge step to say that is no longer a valid concepting for WoW abilities at all, that enabling high fidelity ranking is so important that a certain ability design space is closed off. So it's kind of just like a little flowery. I mean, it doesn't really say anything here. There's no announcement here, but this is good. This is actually very interesting to me, because I'm very interested, and I don't even want to read the rest of these responses because they're just going to make me angry. But yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts. I would very much like to hear your thoughts, and I want to give my thoughts one more time very clearly. First of all, this is, like I said, so important here. Preserving the human element of group play in WoW, not boiling it down to predictable mechanical interactions, is an important value. And yeah, he also mentions the common lament that Group Finder content has lost a lot of the human interaction. Yeah, so clearly, obviously the case. And I think WoW did this to itself. I mean, I really do. They did so many dumb things where they just constantly kept taking the person out of the world and taking the people out of the group. It's just they kind of put themselves in this position. But it's a perfectly solvable position by the community. Like, that's not, like, the game isn't forcing you to do it. The game isn't judging your rankings as your success. That's you doing that. So stop. I mean, like, just stop. And I don't know, like, I've heard a lot of people say, like, they can't stop because everybody around them is doing it and all these different things. But it's like, I just don't really buy that. I mean, that's just a really silly way of saying I've succumbed to peer pressure. You know what I mean? It's like, don't do that, dude. You're going to learn that lesson in your life. You can't, like, if everybody around you is sacrificing goats, you know what I mean? Like, just don't do that. Just maybe don't do that. You can just maybe be like, hey, thanks anyway, guys. We're all adults here. I don't really care about this. And I think probably a lot of groups do have, maybe a 50-50 split where there's people who are super serious about this and other things. But like to me, it was always like, I'm just so fucking sick of hearing about it. I was just so sick of hearing about it. It's like, dude, you're like barely getting to the purple parse rank anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really care if you get this buff or you don't. It doesn't fucking matter. It's not going to help us kill the boss. It's not going to make anybody else happy other than you. And it's probably not even like there's not even a consensus pick. So I kind of wish that could just be part of the game again. But even in classic, people are the same way. Even in classic, everybody's just like all about the parses, all about the damage they do, instead of all about beating the game. And I don't really know when that happened, but I think it's just a common trend in gaming. But like if you look at actual speed runs, games that are speed ran are usually they have a bunch of different types of categories. So like if there was a WoW speed run, the equivalent, it's not a speed run, but like the equivalent would be like the parsing situation. Like beat the game, but also do this, right? That would be a speed run in WoW. But then there would also be like challenges too. And it just doesn't exist. Nobody really cares about the actual boss dying anymore, it feels like. I think for a lot of people, it's just kind of second nature. Like the boss will die eventually, so I don't really care. All I care about is figuring out how I can do this, and that. And I think that's really, it's one of the main reasons why I just don't really feel connected to the people that I was trying to, connect with and raid with and stuff over the years, because it's just like I just literally don't give a fuck about that. Like if I was the worst player in the world, but we kill the boss every week, that would be all I ever cared about. So I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts. And what do you think about this with Mythic Plus as well? Because obviously this is a big thing in rating, but I feel like you don't really see a lot of it in Mythic Plus since there's only 5 classes. And it's certainly not like people aren't like bringing priests just to get PI. I mean, some groups might be, but it's very unlikely. So, do you guys think this is good? And if you think it's bad, like besides this, where I can't remember where he says it, but basically like social tension, or yeah, the social tension situation. It's like but yeah, saying one person's reasonable response might be that this has got to just be out. It's going to put you at odds with your own group mates, so stamp it out. That's just an incredibly antisocial. I mean, not only antisocial, but it's just like counterproductive to success, right? Like if they just removed those right now and you all were just weaker because of it, you'd actually be happier? It doesn't even make sense. Do you want to succeed or not? Like to me, I was always happy when people in my group got gear because it meant that they're going to help me get better. But now everybody pugs, and myself included, I play with people that I have no connection to. So it's easy to see, like I could understand why I would feel that way if I did, but I've got a conscious working brain and I understand that is counterproductive to success, so I don't ever feel that way. I felt the same way about Titan forging and a lot of other weird social things that people said. So let me know what you think. Very interested in hearing your thoughts. I will continue to check out interesting posts by Blizzard on this council forum, and hopefully we can get a community discussion going. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.